Hey, Austin, it is very good to see you. I am so glad we're tackling a really important question today, which is the 4% rule outdated? This is coming up a lot in a lot of conversations that I'm having recently. And as you know, for the past 2 decades, the 4% rule has served retirees well, but that's changing. So let's just start by breaking down what is the 4% rule.
Yeah, Aaron, I think that's a good place to start. So, the 4% rule was created by William Bengen in 1994. And what it simply states is that a retiree can withdraw 4% of their portfolio balance adjusted for inflation each year for 30 years without depleting the portfolio.
Mhm. But again, when we talk about the landscape that's changing right now, of course, we've talked a lot about bonds and many other things. So for retirees today, should they be taking the same percentage each year? What else do they need to be taking into consideration?
Yeah, I think in general, that is a strategy we would advise against because we do have to take into account the economic and market backdrop. So, for
Right.
instance, when this rule, the 4% rule, was instituted, we had interest rate levels much higher than they are today. We
Hmm.
had different stock market valuations, and we had different inflation levels, which currently the latest reading was 8.5%.
That's nuts. Yeah.
That certainly was not the case in 94. And also, we have to be cognizant of stock and bond correlations, which have recently spiked in Q1 of 2022.
Right. Okay. So what then do pre-retirees and retirees need to consider? If you had to boil it down to the single most important consideration for that distribution plan, what should it be?
Yeah, I think going in the door when we develop any distribution plan and really any financial plan is we have to allow ourselves to account for flexibility and optionality because we know that this environment is going to change just as it has in the last 5 years or so. We have completely different set of circumstances than we did in the past. And I think realistically, moving forward in 2022 and beyond, we should notch down our expectations for that withdrawal rate given the circumstances that we find ourselves in with inflation levels, stock market valuations, and the ultra low interest rates that we have today. So I think a reasonable withdrawal rate moving forward for many folks is somewhere in the vicinity of 2.8% on the
Hmm.
low end to 3.3% on the high end, with really that middle ground or the baseline expectation is 3%.
Hmm. And not just to kind of state the obvious or ask the obvious question here, Austin, but this is important because your withdrawal rate, determines how much income you're taking in, but also this is addressing the single most important concern for retirees, which is running out of money in retirement.
Exactly, Aaron. We all have that overarching desire to live the life we want in retirement, but really the number one question we have to be able to answer is, will we run out of money?
Right.
And monitoring this withdrawal rate is so important. Adjusting it each and every year for the circumstances that we find ourselves in can help alleviate that concern of running out of money. Because if we simply take and rely on that 4% rule that we have for the better part of 2 decades, we could find ourselves in some trouble moving forward.
Right. That's why it's so important to have somebody like you in your corner so that you can talk through these changes. And again, things are changing so fast these days. Austin, if somebody has questions and they'd like to talk this through with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach us at info@patriotwealthnc.com, or you can give us a shout at the direct office line is 919-322-4113.
All right. And of course, your website is there as well for anybody who has any questions. Austin, this was incredibly helpful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron.